And this is the reason you will never see any seepages in any of the buildings over here in Dubai. And there's a very strict control when the contractor is executing these stages. There are various controls. The architect will have a very strict control, and if the architect says that he is not happy with the kind of housekeeping the contractor has done, just the housekeeping, like cleaning all this rubbish from this rebar areas, the whole slab casting will be postponed. And I already told you, once the slab casting is postponed, what kind of impact it can have on the overall cost. Now, this particular project, we had a very strange problem. We were not allowed to have any external shoring. So we had created this red and white color beams that you see. These are massive 2.5 meter diameter steel pipes, structural steel pipes, which are pushing the basement away so that the land from outside does not cave in. So it's like an inward pressure that we are pushing, providing to the ground outside the plot. It's just meant for that. And as and when the basement were casted, these temporary beams were being removed. So it was a very interesting procedure to sort of witness. A typical casting, can you just imagine, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pouring pumps in action. Every truck that you see, slump tests have to be taken. If the slump test fails by even 0.5 millimeter, that whole truck lot of concrete is rejected. That's the kind of precision work we have to do if you want to achieve a very excellent quality of architectural design project. So castings, usually if it's a summertime, we prefer to do the casting from evening all the way through night time. And this entire process, the architectural engineers, civil engineers have to be present on site, constantly monitoring and checking. So in this photograph, you can see that the basement has come, I think, this is the third basement which has been casted. You can start seeing the footprint of various elevators and core which will form the tower. Various floor plans. Roof is another key element in the design because a lot of major mechanical services and building cleaning equipment services are placed on roofs. So a lot of coordination is required at roof level. The elevations. As a design development architect, you have to have a very good knowledge of facade development. And facade development, unlike in Indian projects, here in Dubai, we have to give a lot of emphasis because it's simple. The entire facade has to be insulated. So as a statement, it is very simple, but when you have to put it into practice, it is quite complicated. And it's only time and experience. The first and foremost, you have to have love for this work. And once you love this work, it will be very easy and you will become kind of an expert in this whole field, and you will enjoy your work. Facade development is something which I really love and I specialize within the whole design development parameter. These are various key facade sections to various different components of the building. So you have, as an architect, you have to identify all the key areas of the facade, and then you have to develop them to make sure the basic design intent is respected. And what is the basic design intent is what has been defined in the concept design. So when I said that all the disciplines have to respect each other, this is what I mean. Now the building has started sort of taking shape. Ramps are a key element when it comes to parking layout, and there are a lot of parameters, the turning radius and the levels and gradients of the ramp, which has to be respected. BMU systems, various other details. This is typical, probably everybody knows, it's like a door schedule. Beyond the facade detail, the next key component within the facade is the glazing. So glazing schedule is very key in sort of many levels. It is one element which has to be taken care with regards to thermal insulation. Another important issue about glazing is cost. So you have to have a very fine balance while you're doing a glazing design in your building. Ceilings. Ceilings are very critical because in Dubai, the complete buildings have to be air conditioned. And the moment you have air conditioning, there are many elements which have to be coordinated within the ceiling layout, while always considering the aesthetical element for the ceiling. So ceiling play a very key role in terms of concealing all the MEP services, and whatever are visible have to be designed appropriately so that they don't become an eyesore. The apartment layout. Now here is what I want to bring to your attention. The colored plan that you see was a concept plan designed by the concept architect at the initial stage of the project. And the success of the design will be on the right hand side. When you see the same layout, this is the actual working detail drawing of that particular apartment. Now, if these two layouts are 95% same, then your design is successful. And it is a key responsibility of the design architect. I want to sort of bring in one point. Don't think that design architects are a step lower than the concept architect. No, not at all. A design architect has to be equally, a design development architect has to be equally sensitive as a concept architect. And if that sensitivity is there, only then you will be able to respect the concept design in your design development. Various other apartment layouts. So on the left-hand side, you see the computer generated image, and on the right side is the actual image of the finished product. These are all actual images. So we bring the projects to sort of 95% match with the concept design. The swimming pool area and the tower which was completed. So just keep this slide in your mind, and let me take you to the first slide. This is what was computer generated and shown to the client and authorities versus This is the actual build. And if you achieve your design to that accuracy, it's a success. These are some other projects which I have been personally involved in. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you so much, and I will hand over the space to Ms. Sheetal now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was very nice. And now the students may be thinking कि चलो सुकुल सर के पास जाके training कर लेते हैं. The first thing which is coming into their mind is चलो Dubai. So because the amount of work which you have done in one of your projects, I think they don't do in 5 years. Or if they want to do, they are being pulled up by other students. Maybe that we have to just complete this design as a sake of submission.
Definitely.
So the students basically in architecture want to do and complete the submission, get the grades, and pass out with a degree.
Which is of no use. Believe me. Is everybody hearing me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. The fact of the matter is, I have never used my graduation certificate ever in my 30 years of career to get a job. I got my job. I used my certificate only as a confidence, backstage confidence that yes, I am genuinely an architect. And with that confidence, I just told the interviewers that I am an architect. And they gave me the job. Because once you, as I told you, once you get the job, it is after that your actual training starts, being an architect. And no matter how good your marks are, believe me, nobody will ever ask you what marks you got in architecture.
That's a very important point, yes.
Architecture is a field which is purely a design field. Design is absolutely subjective. What you like as a good design, I might not, and it can be vice versa. So you cannot debate on that. So just complete your architecture course so that you can stand in front of your interviewer and say that yes, you are an architect. But leave it to that only. Don't think that you are an architect once you get an architectural degree.
Yeah, that's very important. We have started the question answer, so students
Before
will be raising
that,
their hands.
Sheetal,
Yes,
before
yes,
that, I have a couple of videos if I can share.
Yes, the construction videos. Actually,
yeah.
we have collected the construction videos to show to the students how the construction actually takes place. So after 2-3 videos, we are starting the question answer round. So students may raise the hand, and we have enabled the chat. Type your questions over there, and we'll let you one by one to ask the question to the speaker.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let me start this.
Yes, sir.
Videos. Will I be able to talk when I'm showing the
yes,
videos?
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Simultaneously, you can talk also. है ना?
Okay, this is one project which I was kind of recently involved in. This is 3 basement, ground floor plus 11 podium level and 68-story residential and hotel tower, which is upcoming on a very famous spot in Dubai, which is along this famous Sheikh Zayed Road. And the client keeps a constant progress. There are time-lapse cameras which are fixed on 2 or 3 corners of this project, which is constantly taking photographs through the entire project cycle. And every now and then they will use drones to further capture it and then kind of create a video once the project is completed. one thing during my career I have felt is, all the great architects, in my opinion, of our time, be it Lee Corbusier or Mr. Doshi, they were, when they do a design of a building, they were always involved with what is happening on site. And these days, what I personally feel is that if an architect thinks that he is a concept architect, he believes or she believes that their work is only limited to their drawing board, in preparing beautiful sketches, wonderful designs. And once the concept is approved, finish. Their task is finished. That's a general thing I have experienced in my personal career. I might be wrong, but this is what I have experienced. And if that's the case, it's not good architecture. An architect should always be involved with the end product, and the end products always happen on site. Now, this is another video of a project which I have completed, which is in the DIFC, which is one of the most prominent free zone in Dubai. This project was such a big success that you will see in this frame, you will not see last 2 floors. And that's because during the course of construction, the project got so successful that the client decided to raise the building height by 2 floors. Obviously, officially, everything was done. And it's like 100% sell in the prominent DIFC region. Then this is one video I'll show, which is a bit interesting. Okay, let me start the video and then I can sort of give some input. But let me quickly brief you. This is a facade of the first video that I had shown of the 68-story tower. These are 3 full life-size facade of the actual project that will be executed. And what we do over here is we do something called as PMU, which is performance mock-up test. So this mock-up of facade is tested for various elements. And this is what this video shows. So in front of the facade, you might not be able to see it very clearly, but there's a network of pipes which will mimic rain falling on the facade. And the pressure of the water is equal to the pressure of rain that is generally happening in Dubai based on the data received from the government authorities. So the entire facade will have rain falling over it. And this is probably some plane engine which mimics the wind. And it will throw a wind on the facade. So there will be various tests. One would be only rain test, which means only the water will be sprinkled on the facade. Another would be rain with wind. The wind will be in the tune of probably 100 or 120 kilometers, whatever is the worst which has been experienced in Dubai so far. The fan will throw that kind of air onto the facade. And with rain, water falling on the facade, the idea is to see if there's any water penetration inside. So the success of this test will be zero water penetration. And this inside chamber is again pressured based on the air conditioning pressure that is part of the MEP design. The same pressure is provided inside the chamber. And then you have the external elements of water and rain hitting the facade. And then we check whether this mock-up is a success or not. I don't think you'll be able to hear the voice, but it is overwhelming when you see the noise and water splashing on the facade. It is really, really a unique experience. You can see the water is hitting the facade with the airs to the tune of what is prevalent in Dubai. Yeah, I'll again sort of give back the screen to Ms. Sheetal.
Thank you, sir. Now the students are already experiencing a heartbeat increase because seeing these practicals and designing done by the students in the class or by the practicing architects very much differ, maybe country wise or maybe the facilities available in the specific area. Suppose we go for all these kinds of testing, it is really impossible for us to get along this. But yes, what happens sometimes is that saying this key, we don't have this facility, we stop working on the design, ignoring the facilities which are already there in our country or already there with an architect to make this design more maybe technically sound, though it is not possible for us to get for the physical testing like this, but we can use softwares for this. So
Yeah.
But after seeing this, many may think that India doesn't have this kind of facilities, or this is not possible for an architect to spend a lot on this. But we can take the help of the softwares.
Yeah.
But what happens that they generally stop doing the efforts for all these kinds of things. Looking once it is final, once the government has approved it, now just finish it and look into the another project. So
No,
here,
I personally, I'm not sure, but I think I've got some friends who are practicing extremely well in India, and I'm sure they can give some feedback. These kind of facilities should be available in India. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Means
But as a student of architecture, we don't get to see these facilities. So I thought, let me share this with the students.
This is very wonderful, and I think the students must be enjoying this. And if they get an opportunity to see more of these projects, I will be giving your email address to the students. They are already asking one of the very nice question which every student has in the mind कि sir आपको salary कितना मिलता है. So basically every student and every architect wants to know कि हमारा economical background क्या होगा. To this one answer which I can give from my side is a personal thing, that once you have the quality of designing or doing anything, the upper range of the salary will never matter. It can go any high and any peak.
Yeah.
But आपका design या आपका कोई ना कोई ऐसा होना चाहिए that you are having in you to go up to that extent. Merely a BR's degree and then you expect to rise like this won't be helpful, I think.
Let me add a bit on this. Salary is important, but I'm telling you very honestly, and a lot of my friends can vouch for me. I have never worked for salary. Not that I've got a very good financial background. No, I'm coming from a very average middle class Indian family background. In fact, it was my close friend. No, I had a very difficult time, in fact. So stop running for the salary, and the salary will come to you. Work for your happiness, and the salary will come to you. Money will follow you if you show interest and happiness in your work. If you work for getting a salary, it will never come to you. Believe me.
Thank you, sir. before the students get an opportunity, let me have my faculties also, those who teach design.
Sure.
And they are really getting their heads down to with the students while explaining the design and while taking out the single line plan or a double line plan from the students. So my faculties had one question, and then we'll go for we have already 6 students who have raised the hands. Students, we have students and the participants, we have taken your name and you will be getting the chance soon. The first question asked will be by Dr. Ankita Srivastav, ma'am. She is my faculty and she
Okay, I
teaches
have
mostly
to.
design and history.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing before I reply. You know, I'm not
No, sir,
a
it's basically
speaker
only a
at all. Huh?
discussion. Yeah, it's only
Yeah,
basic a discussion. Yeah. Huh.
I would love to share my experience, and if I don't know something, I'll be very honest in telling you I don't
No
know.
issues, no issues, no
Yeah.
issues. Ankita, ma'am. Yeah, she's coming. Yeah. We
Yes.
are maintaining the social distancing, so just bear with us.
Sure.
Screen sharing किसका share हो गया भाई? Student participants, kindly don't share your screens. This is a online. I think we can see her now. Just 1 minute. Shashi ma'am को unmute करते हैं. Actually, we are sitting in the same room, but
No
social
problem.
distancing
Yeah,
is
yeah,
more
it's fine.
important.
Yes.
Unmuted now. You can ask. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello,
Good
ma'am.
morning, sir.
Good morning.
For a very nice and informative session.
Video.
But I have a small question that we have observed that Indian architecture is more or less now more influenced by contemporary architecture of West. Hello?
Yeah.
Whereas we ourselves have so many traditional historical buildings and architecture style which is already existing in India, but now what we see that today generally the practice is that they follow the Western adaptation of the design, whether it suit to our climatic condition or whether it suit to our condition or not. So can you comment on this, please?
I exactly sort of get what you're saying, and I feel a bit saddened by that approach. We have to respect. See, architecture is a very sensitive profession, and if we are here just to be part of some rat race, then we are not doing pure, genuine architecture. Architecture has to respect the local community, local culture, local tradition. We have to respect. And in that sense, if you ask me, you know, again coming back to context of Dubai, Dubai is a cosmopolitan place where we have almost like 100 nationalities living. So it's more of a global city. So though it has its own traditions and culture, but you cannot, when you are talking of big mega developments, then you cannot always respect tradition and culture. Then there are certain practical parameters that have to be followed in the design. But even while doing so, you can always respect the context within which you are designing the building. I truly agree. And I've got some friends who are practicing architecture in India and who are doing great sort of justice to this fact. See, when
Yes.
when you are talking of small scale architectural projects, you can do it. to a larger scale project also, you can try to include some component of the local tradition and local ideas. However, when it comes to big mega projects, there are constraints which have to be respected, and they have their own constraint where you cannot always bring in your traditional or cultural design parameter.
Yes, sir, you are right. But what I see that they simply follow the design of the West without looking to the climatic condition, without looking to the other constraint, which might not be possible for the Indian context. So I
Definitely.
think we should look.
We definitely have to look. Even I'm telling you, let me tell you, over here also, as I told you, we are evolving. In Dubai,
Yes.
the authorities have started asking for sun studies. What is the reason for that? So, and the problem is, yes, in India, we are generally influenced by the West. But if you look at the West, they have evolved their own system based on their local requirements.
Yes.
So that concept
Thank you,
has
sir.
to be understood by people in India, that you have to respect your local environment and then accordingly evolve buildings around it. You have to.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Next question, Rachit Saxena. He is also faculty, presently teaching design to the first year, and you can
Okay.
understand what is the caliber of the work PCM का student को design में लाना in
Okay.
first year. You can remember your own old days.
Yes.
So Rachit, you can go with it.
Hello, sir. Rachit this side.
Hello, Rachit.
Sir, this is a very basic question. Many of the students were asking to me also, and even I personally have this question, that why Dubai is obsessed with glass.
Why Dubai is obsessed with glass? Because most of it's a very shrewd reply, because a lot of these designers who influenced Dubai architecture are from the West, and they had their personal ideas, impressions, and manufacturing setups. So they wanted to promote them, and that's the reason glass was used blatantly. And looking into the environmental and climatic conditions, Dubai does not need so much of glass structure as such.
True.
And that was the reason. But now people are getting sensitive. The authorities are getting more cautious, and they are changing the regulations. They are asking architects to do certain studies which will help minimize the use of glass in hot zones, and use of glass is promoted in the cooler zone of the building. So those kind of things are happening. But yes, in principle, architecturally speaking, we could have avoided the use of glass. But then there are certain things which are beyond your or my purview. Let's say the master planner or the bigger decision makers have certain ideas which they want to promote. Then those ideas kind of supersedes the basic knowledge that you and me share about architecture, and that's where we have to sort of work with what is available. So if the Dubai authorities wanted to provide a particular image, see, if Dubai had not created that image in last 20-30 years, you and me would not be talking about Dubai now.
Exactly.
So It's a particular image that Dubai authorities wanted for Dubai to have, and why Dubai is known so much compared to Sharjah, Riyadh, or any other cities is because of that impression and image the bigger authorities wanted Dubai to have. And they were successful in that sense. Dubai became the tourism hub of the world. And so that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect is more sensitive one, which me and you people can try to always influence when you are designing. You can always do it at your level.
The first question is coming from Amit. Amit, I hope you are online now and you can share your views. The next participant, Manjiri, be ready. After that, Navneet, Khushbu.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Amit.
Hello.
Hello.
Amit, you are audible. You can ask your question now.
Sir, what is your salary in Dubai?
सर नहीं बताएंगे, मैं बता दूंगी बाद में. We are not
Why?
here to discuss.
Okay, yeah, okay. No problem. Let me reply to that. In current COVID situation, I am not getting any salary, but I'm still working. I'm still working happily.
This is the situation everywhere.
That is nice. You will get the answer for the salary. I will not hide the salary, but let us come to the design things.
We will talk about salary also, but instead of being specific, I can give you a general impression and ideas about salary.
About the experience, how much experience you are having, and according to the salary can be discussed. Next, Manjiri, can you be online now?
Yes. Sir, good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, I am a practicing architect. I would like to ask you something.
Yes.
Sir, how often the architect should visit the site? This is something I would like to know. And at what stages?
You are Manjiri, you are practicing architect, and what scale of projects are you doing, if I may know?
Mostly apartments.
Okay. See, there are different stages of the project, right? As long as the project is on your drafting board, you don't need to go to the site except to understand the site context and all. You don't need to. But once the project is on site, it is very essential. And it's not a matter of site visit. You have to feel emotionally involved with your project. You have to treat it as your baby, as your child. So will you be able to sort of avoid seeing your child for a day? You won't be. So as many site visits as you can practically do, you should do it, because you will get to learn so much from your site visits. I put it this way, that if you spend 1 year on site as a full-fledged architect, you have learned almost 5 years of your studio work.
Okay. Sir, the other question is,
Yeah.
what is the level of detailing we have to show in our drawing? Because some of the details like glazing part will be covered in the shop drawings.
But shop drawings apply to these questions based on what we practice over here in Dubai?
Yes, sir.
Or you want me to reply it in India's context?
No, you can reply based on the Dubai.
Our detailed design drawings are to that level here in Dubai, that if you give that set to the contractor in India, they can execute the building. Okay. So it has to be very extensively detailed. You should not leave anything for anybody to sort of assume. And the reason why contractors in Dubai have to build shop drawing is more because of a contractual reason, because technically when the building is executed by the contractor, they are solely responsible for the complete building quality. And they can only be responsible for the building quality if they are executing the building on their own drawings. That's why an architect's detailed design drawing are generally called as design intent drawings, not shop drawings, even though they are detailed to that level. So I hope that sort of replies
Yes.
to your question.
Got your point.
Next question.
The next question is coming from Mr. Putta Praveen.
Praveen, are you online? Navneet, Khushbu, Ravisha, be ready with your questions.
I think Mr. Putta Praveen is not there. I'm
Okay.
unmuting Navneet Raj. Mr.
Navneet.
Navneet Raj.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Navneet, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, basically my question is, I'm a final year student. So my question is, sir, what is the biggest challenge as a student that I face when I decide to do my post graduation? And the follow-up question is that how are we able to decide whether to do it within India or abroad? Like apart from our personal interest of both, what is actually the key factor that we should decide while choosing whether to do it in India or abroad, sir?
What was the first part of your question?
Sir, like the biggest challenge that we face while we decide to do our post graduation after our UG, sir.
Biggest challenge that you face. Honestly speaking, I have not done post graduation, so I might not. My reply might not be very appropriate. But the biggest challenge will be to select the discipline or the field in which you have to do the post graduation. That should be your biggest challenge. You should select the discipline or course that interests you and that gives you happiness.
Okay,
Don't
sir.
do a course because somebody told you that doing that course will get you more money. Do not do that. Do a course which makes you happy.
Okay, sir.
And second thing is whether it has to be done in India or abroad. It depends financially. What are your financial capabilities? It will depend where you eventually want to sort of practice. Let's say if you want to see yourself settled in US or Europe, then it's better that you do courses in those part of the world. And if you decide that you want to stay back in India only, then India has got some very brilliant colleges which are offering post-graduation courses. So it would depend on where you eventually would like to settle.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
The one question which is common from many of the students in the feedback form, which registration form, was that is there any difference learning from a private institute or NIT or any such institute? Because there is a concept in the mind that the one who are going from the NITs or the SPAs and the one who is going from the private university, is the design development or the caliber of the architect affected by this institute label or the BR degree having some name of some of the institute?
In my personal opinion, no, it doesn't matter. Bright students of private universities and government colleges will be bright either way. And people who are not interested in architecture and join this course just for the sake of it, whether they are passing out from any known university, would still be a mediocre student only.
Okay.
The name of the college or certificate, as I told earlier, would only play a role to that extent of you getting a job. But eventually people will monitor you, will observe you based on how you perform in your work. That is what will sort of take you ahead in your professional career?
Very, very big question answered. We will move to the next speaker, next one who is asking.
The next question is by Aditya Kolara. I'm unmuting you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I'm from Kerala, and my question is, what are the common mistakes repeatedly we are done as a students? You found something common in most of the students, and that should be considered seriously.
Too many actually. I have worked with some very fresh architects from Bombay, Kerala, and it's not to sort of take it in a positive sense. The basic drafting skills were missing. Students or the freshers who joined the firm, they didn't knew how the slab, beam, wall junctions work. So you have to really again, I feel because students and architects alike in today's time, they are very disconnected. They think it's like their job is a table job. It is not. It is not. Okay, let me tell you one thing. Which field architecture now is not like one architect who can do everything. Okay, there are specializations in architecture field now. Too many specializations. There's a concept architect, as I explained you, design development architect. There's an authority architect who will be only responsible for taking care of authority related issues. There are site architects, landscape architect, interiors architect. You have to first of all find your own niche where your core interests lie, and then you have to sort of start learning yourself in that particular direction to excel yourself. You have to excel yourself, no one else. Okay, and among all this discipline, there is one particular component which is a rarity in today's market. Do anybody know which component I recently talked about is rarely available in architect, rarely available in the market? Whether it's a concept architect or which architect in your opinion? Probably nobody would be able to tell that, but believe me, an architect with the site experience is a rarity. If you say that I'm an architect and I have got site experience, it's rare, and which is very sad, because architect should be attached to the ground. It should be, he or she should be attached with the buildings that they're designing. People design the building and they never care to visit their sites. That's very sad actually. So to start getting connected with your project, start learning from what you have designed and how it is executed on site, and evolve. It's a very interesting field. There are so many. It's not like just architect is one. There are many architects now, and you have to find out which area your interest lies in. There's a green architect now. There's a sustainable architect now. Find your niche, excel yourself into that discipline, and then move ahead in life.
Yes, very truly said. And one more thing which came into the limelight, that generally it is considered that the females are not working more. It is not a gender-based question or a suggestion, but it is considered that females are not working in the architectural field. But like you must be remembering how we started our talk.
Yeah.
I asked you for the videos of the site. Then
Yeah.
there were some legal complications in my site, and then we started discussing.
Hmm.
So when from India, I can have this kind of exposure of the site and the legal matters and the professional field, along with all my faculties who are working on the site. I don't think that this question should be asked. That this question was there in one of the registration forms, but I would like to hear from you. Is this dilemma, or is something that the
See, in my experience, relatively, if you see, yes, there are less female architects, but generally you will see female architects in all disciplines. Let me remember and reply. I know female architects who are into authorities. I know female architects who are into design development, concept design. I know a very young female architect who came from Syria, and she wanted just to be on site. So she sort of took the training under me, and she loved this to be on site. So there are, but yes, maybe there are some self-imposed constraints by the female architects. Maybe that could be one of the reasons, but generally there are female architects. I won't say that there's any bias in that.
Yes, sir. Very well explained. And to be more specific, I am myself, I'm an example, which I've seen my high courts, my lower courts, my sites, my contractors, everything I've faced in this 17 to 18 years of life. So I don't think there is a fear of getting into this field. It is only the courage which the girls may take very, very well.
You know, in Dubai, generally, the impression is like bachelors and guys and things, but there are female architects who pass out from India. They come to Dubai, stay alone, work, struggle hard, and achieve. So there are examples. So it is, I honestly, personally don't feel that there's any particular restriction from any particular management or organization. The female architects themselves have to take the initiative of coming out, coming ahead, and say that yes, we can be a part of this whole development. Nothing can stop them.
Thank you, sir. So next question.
The next question is from Kripa Pujara. The question is, sir, you told that you were more exposed to brickwork and arches as a person. Then how do you currently deal with the skyscrapers in Dubai?
See, I was interested, and I fulfilled my dream by making my own office. That's my achievement. And working in Dubai is another part of the reality. You have to all constantly face your realities and challenges in life and move ahead. You cannot sort of hold back something like your personal ambition to hold you back from going ahead in life. I did when I was able to do, I achieved it. And now also, whenever any small way, if I can do something, I keep using my personal likes and dislikes. I always try to use them now also. But obviously, you cannot expect me to go to the concept architect and say that, hey, I like arches and brickwork, so why don't you change your design to match my requirement? No, that's not practical.
Next question.
The next question is by Miss Ravisha. Ravisha, I've unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Hello.
Hello, Ravisha.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Actually, I would like to ask you that how do you retain the traditional aspect of a building while you give it a modern and sustainable solution?
Why you ask such difficult questions? It again depends on the scale of the project. So if you're doing, see, you have to understand, when we all talk about tradition, modern is not a curse. Modern is not bad. You know, traditional architecture were always, generally speaking, small scale project, ground floor, ground plus one, because that's how traditionally you never had skyscrapers, right? So it is very wrong to say that how can we bring in traditional architecture into modern architecture, let's say a mega scale project. That's wrong. You cannot do it. But if you get an opportunity to work on a project which has a scale and context of a traditional architecture, then you can very well achieve that.
Okay.
So for example, let me can I share a screen?
Yeah.
You can just share the screen, sir.
Yeah. Let me go back to my presentation. Sheetal, can you share that brief portfolio that I had you had shared earlier?
Hello.
Sheetal, can you share
Okay.
the portfolio
Okay,
that you
yeah,
had
one minute.
initially with my project photographs?
Sir, Kana? This one? So this one? This one?
1 second. Yeah. Can you go one slide up? Yeah, this one. Yeah. Now, Ravisha, if you see this project is a brief about this project. This is like a very massive mixed-use development project in Dubai. The concept design for this project was done by an American firm called MV Architects in California. And I was very closely involved with those architects while we were developing it. So the concept was done in America, and I was the sole person responsible for converting that concept into reality. And these were the images. I incidentally don't have the current executed projects image, which I have, but not on this presentation. We have built this project exactly to match this design. Now, this is an example where you can always bring in tradition. So in this project, we had 2 or 3 different styles of architecture which were designed by the concept architect. There was there was Mediterranean style, there was a Tunisian, there was a contemporary style, and there was one more, can't remember it. So all these styles of architecture, each and every element that you see in this is picked up from that traditional style and implemented on this project. So this is one thing that you can do at the facade level. And the second way you can incorporate a traditional design in a building which is of the same scale is in terms of planning. It's not a rocket science, actually. Yep.
Last 5 minutes are left for the program because
Yes.
so there are a few more questions. 3 or 4
Yep.
questions we'll be taking up very briefly.
Yeah.
The first question is coming from my colleague Shashi ma'am, because she is dealing with the facade and many things.
Sure.
And many students have already asked that why we use glass and what is the option if we don't want to use glass. And Shashi ma'am will be asking her question.
Yeah, sure.
Over to Shashi ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
It is a very interactive session. Thank you so much. Sir, I want to ask.
Yeah, she's coming online.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Interactive session. Thank you. I just want to ask, since I'm taking design, and we are taking one of the subjects such as climatology.
Right.
So I'm concerned with that. Since we want our building to look modern, and for that we are using glass. Is that material soothing to that sustainable architecture, or what else material should the student use in their design, or that should be functionally serving the both aspect means when we are talking about the green technology as well, and when we are making the building functional to match with the environment or moving toward the modernization. That is my question. And so second question, it is very important that I just want student to know from your side that what guidance from your part should be to the student, that what basic learning throughout from the first semester to the final semester should a student adopt very seriously that he should have a benefit while coming to the practicing field, and he should never forget. One should never forget to learn that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Your first question was again related to use of glass and modern architecture, right?
Exactly, sir.
See, I would, yeah.
Sir, I just want to ask, in the replacement of this glass, what else material should be taken so that it should serve for the beneficial of this when we are talking about the green technology, and yet maintaining that elevation or the facade of a building to a modern, to an extent that should give a modern look.
Yeah. See, we don't have to consider glass as our enemy. And we also should not consider glass equal to modernity.
Actually,
glass,
sir, yes, sir.
Glass is a use of glass. Okay, let me be more specific. You cannot have any livable space without glass, which means your living room, your kitchen, your living room, your bedrooms, your study rooms have to have glass. This is an authority requirement. The moment you have design, let's say talk of a typical apartment, you design a study room and it doesn't have a glass in it, the authority will say that you are using it as a store. Okay, so glass is essential. You cannot avoid glass in the context of modern architecture. How you can use it effectively is authorities have given the minimum requirement for every areas. Try to respect that. Instead of having a full height glass, which will, see, there are two components in it. One is what is essential and another is what is beautiful. You will not deny this fact that if you get an apartment in a corner facing a beautiful sea with a full height glazing, you would anytime love to live in that space, right?
Sir. Very correct.
So we have to have a balance, and there is cost. When we have to understand, the students have to understand that when they are going into the profession, the harsh fact is that everything bottoms down to building efficiency, how much FAR you are able to achieve, because it's those figures that the client will be selling. And client will not be able to sell his product if it is not providing the aesthetical element into the design. So I have one bedroom which is full height glazing facing the sea, and I have got another bedroom which is facing the sea but with a blank wall. Which one will you purchase? You will obviously purchase the one which has got a nice view. So you have to, first of all, remove this thing from our mind that glass is like bad. Now, once we overcome this obstacle, mental obstacle, then we can try to see how rationally we can use glass as an element in the design. For example, if you want to have your kitchen there are two ways you can place a kitchen in an apartment over here. Either the kitchen has to face on the external facade, which means it has direct light and ventilation from the external facade. That's one way. So you are giving your prime facade area to a kitchen which is not so much used as a building element. So the other option, authorities say that you can place your kitchen inside the apartment, provided you create a big opening in the kitchen which can bring in the light from outside facade into the kitchen. And if you cannot do this, that light from outside facade is reaching the kitchen, then your kitchen has to face an internal courtyard which is 3 meters by 3 meters. Now, if you don't have a very big footprint of a building, then creating those 3 meters by 3 meter facade cutouts become difficult for architect.
Yes.
So what next
Yes.
option they do is they go into this concept of open kitchen.
Yes.
The open kitchen concept, unfortunately, does not work with the Indian way of cooking, but we have to live with it. So we have to always struggle with these constraints and all. While working with these constraints, we have to find out the best optimum way. So when it comes to glass, what I try to do is that I minimize the glass to the minimum what the authorities allows for a particular room. That's the best way you can do.
Yes.
In terms
Right,
of
sir.
in terms of using glass as a sustainable or green element, these days glass technology has gone like skyrocketed to
Yes.
great heights.
Right.
You get
Right.
here DGU, which is double glazed unit, is very common, and DGU
Yes.
provides so much insulation.
Double, triple.
Yeah,
Yes.
even double glaze with e-cool coating on the outside provides so
Yes,
much
yes.
insulation that the 24 millimeter of glass provides you same amount of U value when you compare it with a 250 thick block wall.
So again, we come to the same decision that
Right,
we
sir.
see that
Right,
Dubai
sir.
is using the glass, but in Indian context, we are copying it with a normal glass of 6 mm.
Normal glass is not possible. Normal glass is not correct.
But to get the same elevation and
Yeah.
budget and the
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah.
when normal architects
we are-
uses the normal glass,
And
Yeah,
And we are
and we are intaking more solar heat.
and
So
we are
we are
intaking
making
more
our buildings as
solar
an
heat
oven,
gain.
microwave.
So
like.
if you are using single glass pane, then what is having impact on your air conditioning load? The moment your AC load goes up, you are making your building unsustainable because you will be using bigger quantity of air conditioning elements, all the CFC gases and everything will go up.
Yes. So
Okay.
last two questions.
No,
may I-
second part of the question for Shashi
Shashi
Madam
ma'am.
was about this students, what they should do. This will, I don't know how many students will like this reply, but the fact is, you have to understand when you go into the profession, architect is generally considered as the leader of the team, and the quality of a leader, or why he or she architect is called a leader of the team, or generally it is perceived that an architect leads the team, is because architect is supposed to have knowledge of all the disciplines. So an architect should be a very good structural engineer at basic level. An architect should be a very good MEP engineer at the basic level. And when I say basic level, means no MEP engineer or no structural engineer can come and fool an architect. You should have that kind of knowledge. It is very important for an architecture student to attend surveying and leveling classes. Because if you do not know those basic skills of surveying and leveling, then you will not be able to decide what's the gate level of your project, which will be the first entry point of your building. It's very basic, they are not complicated, but these are the fields which architectural students, including me, have always tried to skip when we are doing architecture, because we are sort of flying on cloud 9 that we are architects and we don't have to do anything but design. But the practicality and the fact is, then architect, when you go out into the profession, you are all pulled down to ground. And that's the time that you realize that when somebody asks you to, okay, give me the gate level of this project, they will stumble and say, what is the gate level? How do I achieve it? How do I find out what's the gate level? They are all very basic skills. You have to study the road levels based on the road level, which is the high point, which is the low point. You have to decide this is the point from where I will enter the building so I can get a better same floor level. Otherwise, you will start having steps, those kind of things. Likewise, structure. No structural engineer can come and fool me that I need a column over here. I can challenge you that. Why? Because my basics of structures are clear. If somebody comes and asks me what kind of bar I have to put over there, I will say, no, I don't know. Ask my structural engineer. But if somebody comes and say, Sukul, I need to have a column over here, I will say, no, you don't need a column because you can provide this inverted beam over there and then span your slab and remove this column. So that kind of skill is very essential for all architectural students. If you don't have that skill, you will struggle a lot.
Very well said.
Thank you, sir. It is very good. Thank you.
Very well said. Students, we request you to just submit the feedback form before leaving so that the certificate can be the last question coming. Request Rachit to allow the student to ask the last question.
First of all, I'm sharing the feedback link so that people can give the feedback. And the next question is coming from Radhika. Radhika, I have unmuted you. Radhika, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, Radhika.
Hello, sir. The session was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
My question was, Dubai is absolutely prone to high wind loads and heat. So how do you deal with these kind of loads, and how do you deal with the heat loads?
One is heat and other is?
Heat and wind loads.
Wind load.
In case of the towers you design, I'm just wondering.
Shall I reply?
Yes, sir.
It's relatively simple. Coming to heat load, as I told you, there's something you can ask your MEP teachers. There's something called as U value. So there's a U value which is defined by the authorities, and U value is basically a term which is used to sort of finalize the thermal conductivity of the facade. So it is essential that the complete facade system design achieves that particular U value. So we use various ways to achieve that in terms of skin. Let me try to be as brief as possible. Double glaze unit is very much essential wherever you have glass. When it comes to external block work, you have to use a minimum of 250 mm thick AAC block work, provided you are having a paint and plaster finish outside. And if you're having a cladding outside, then you can have a 200 mm thick block work with thermal insulation, and then the skin of the external cladding, which could be either metal cladding or GRC cladding or glass, whatever you want to. So these systems will provide a U value which will be meeting the authority requirement. That's the way we control the thermal heat gain inside the building. Plus we will have air condition. All the buildings are air conditioned to meet the required specification. Regarding wind and wind, you said load. All these skyscrapers, any tower which is more than G plus, I would say 30, has a requirement of getting a wind tunnel study. And in the wind tunnel study, we replicate the maximum and beyond maximum winds in Dubai. And based on those wind tunnel tests, we sort of design the facade details. So the facade is a very beautiful and complex element in the building. So there are structural calculations which are to be submitted to the structural engineers who will review those structural calculations. Then the video that I shared earlier, those kind of PMU tests we have to do. Now, this is how stringent it is, you will come to know. The test which I showed you, where the fan was blowing the wind on the facade and there was rain, that test failed because there were 2 drops of water inside the chamber. Just because of 2 drops, the whole test was declared a failure. And then the contractor has to redo the complete facade mock-up And again, the test has to be done till there is zero water egress inside the system. So once we achieve that kind of fineness in detail, we generally get a very good complete design. And we usually don't have any problems when it comes to water egress and these kind of things in Dubai buildings. For us, the bigger problem is sand, which is very difficult to stop.
Yes, very well said.
Yeah, that's it.
Last question, Rachit. This is the last question, I think.
The last question we'll be taking is by Aditi Tripathi. I'm unmuting you, Aditi.
Aditi, can you start your question?
I think she's not here. So,
Hello.
Yes, yes, Aditi.
she's here.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Aditi.
Sir, I'm a first year student. I'm doing BARC. And so my question is, sir, is it important to attend some some internship during our architecture course, 5-year course?
I think it is part of your course, no? One semester has to be done as an internship.
No, sir. Sir, in between 4 years.
You can join any architect within your circle, within your city, and whenever you are going on a break for 2 months, you can go and you should take these initiatives. That's what you mean.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can always do that. I used to do it. Whenever I had summer break, I would go to a local architectural firm and work for them without any ambitions of making money out of it, just for the pure pleasure of learning.
Aditi, I would also like to add to this. I am visiting the sites since my first year. First, I used to go to have a samosa with my father because he's also an architect. But later on, I completed all my sites along with my father's help right from the first year. So making the drawing of the weatherboard was so easy on the paper, but on the site, it was very difficult for me to make a weatherboard and give the contractor the exact dimensions of the weatherboard on the site.
Yeah.
So weatherboard, you never design. As a student, you never design a weatherboard. And when you go on the site and you want to give the dimensions to the contractor regarding the weatherboard, it is very difficult. So start going to the site irrespective of in which year you are. And this way, there will be so many questions. I think now students are having more queries. Sukul sir, I think we should have one email link with shared with the students. I will share it within the feedback form.
Sure.
And the students can ask your questions directly to you. And
Sure.
if you're comfortable, you can reply to
Sure.
them. Students will be willing to visit Dubai. My students are already ready and they have made their passports. They are ready to visit Dubai, irrespective of Corona, yes. They can take the risk and they can now have some references from your side to have some training, maybe.
But why Dubai? Let your students
It's a
fly
fantasy
higher.
it's a fantasy for them to
Let them
least
fly
visit.
higher. Let them fly
Yes,
higher.
Yes. So students, I hope this session was helpful to you. And on behalf of LMCT team and School of Architecture, me, Sheetal Sharma, and my faculties and my students, those who are online, really thank Sukul sir for giving me more than 2.5 hours and the previous all meetings which we held for making this webinar successful. Thank you, Sukul sir. Thank you very much
Welcome.
for giving this insight into the design concept, which is a mystery for the student for all 5 years,
Yeah.
irrespective of if even they are designing a small room, but it is a mystery. It is
Yeah.
very good to listen you, and we'll be calling you again and again, disturbing your schedule. So kindly
Thank you so
welcome,
much.
sir.
Thank you.
very
Thank
much,
you.
sir. Students,
you.
thank you. Participants, thank you. And
Thank you, everyone.
if you wish to have concluding remarks, Sukul sir, what is your experience regarding this?
It was a very good experience, and I'm not into academics, and I'm not into sort of teaching. So for me, it was a bit overwhelming in the beginning, but eventually I enjoyed. I hope my experience is of some help to the students. And just
Then I can call you in my college as an expert teacher for some subject.
Yes, sure. Why not?
So I'll just giving you the invitation link. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, students. Your rest of the questions will be answered through mail, and please fill the feedback form so the certificate can be released. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
sir.
much. Thank you.
Madam, should I stop the live session, live streaming?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.